I got a knock on my front door from CPS. So I opened the door and I had about 5 people standing out front. And they told me, they said, hi ma'am, we just want to talk to you because is your daughter, they said her name and I said yes. And I was just I didn't know what was going on. I had no clue. I was just stunned because they told me that her father was under criminal investigation for downloading and distributing lots of child pornography.
What you're about to hear is not just a story, it's a warning, a cry, and a call to action. Welcome to Deliver Us, the Fight for Our Children, a new series from Excursions with Dylan Pastors. This series was born out of urgency, out of desperation, out of love for the voiceless, love for the broken, and love for the children who are being lost in the shadows of a system that was supposed to protect them. Today's episode is raw, it's painful, and it's real. I'm sitting down with a brave mother, Ashley Hazel, who discovered the unthinkable, that her ex-husband was under federal investigation for distributing child pornography, that there was hidden cameras in her daughter's bedroom, and that he used sophisticated encryption to evade justice. And yet, the court still forced her to co-parent with him. Let that sink in. Ashley was told by CPS to seek emergency custody. She did. The judges granted it. But then, after pressure, legal loopholes, and lies, the court reversed it. Today, we call out DCS. We call out the corrupt family court system, and we demand that our voices be heard. To CPS, to the judges, to the mediators who are failing our children, we see you. You are complicit when you ignore credible reports. You are dangerous when you silence protective mothers, and you will be held accountable, not only by the people, but by God. This series is not just a podcast, it's a movement. So if you're listening right now, open your heart, open your eyes, and don't look away, because this could be your child. This could be your fight. This is Deliver Us, the fight for our children. And this is Ashley's story. So today, guys, I have Ashley here, and she's willing to give her testimony just about everything she's dealing with what is it called in your area? DCF or?
Yeah, so here, DCF and CPS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to, we could talk a minute about the spiritual warfare, just trying to get this going, right? It's pretty nuts.
So,
I
it took a while for us to even get this video going because I was having weird problems where you would send me the link and then it would send me to a room that we're both supposed to be in, but then I would just be in the room by myself and then I couldn't find you. So this whole time I've just been like isolated, and we're finally able to talk and we're connected.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Finally. Thank God.
Amen.
I prayed a couple times too. I'm thinking maybe he's listening now,
Yeah, he is. Okay.
Look, I got a dresser drawer open.
You know what? I think the message is so powerful in itself, it doesn't matter. So, basically, a little bit about me. I got married at a very young age. I was 21 years old, and it was to my first boyfriend who I met at 17 years old. And, I tried to do things the right way, wait until marriage. I thought we were going to be together for the rest of our lives. And so going into it, I really feel like our hearts were in the right place, and we started off doing it for the right reason. Unfortunately, during my marriage, my ex-husband had a very severe computer addiction to the point where he was constantly on the computer, to the point where it was almost, if he wasn't working, he was on the computer all day, all night, and it really started to affect our relationship. And that kind of happened more after we had our first daughter, shortly after we got married, maybe about a year and a half later. And that's when things really started to become more stressful. And I just started feeling a lot more distant from him. And honestly, it was because of the computer addiction. And, you know, he opened up to me at the time that he was having some anger issues. And I didn't know where it was coming from, but it was almost like the more I tried to pull him off the computer, the more angry he became. So I could tell that that was like a stress relief for him from his everyday life. And we tried going to therapy together. And during that time, he opened up to me about, you know, something that happened to him as a kid. And that's that he was sexually assaulted by his father. And we went to therapy for this for a while, but, you know, at the time he really wasn't, you know, I had my own stuff too that I was working through as well. And I think that's the thing. Like, everyone has something that they've gone through that they're trying to work through. And I am not perfect. I mean, I was going to therapy too for my own things. But when he really opened up about that, I thought, you know, we can fix this. We'll go to therapy together. And I actually had the therapist tell me that he said, Ashley, this is something that he needs to come for on his own. And until he's ready to deal with this, you can't force him to deal with it. This is something that he needs to deal with when he's ready. And so I took that as a sign that, okay, maybe, you know, I need to just back off a bit. And he actually wrote me a card when we split up. And in the card, he revealed to me that he, for a long time, has always had this darkness inside of him. And he can't express why or where it came from. But he considered, he said, I think maybe going to therapy wouldn't be such a bad idea. And it's something that I think I'm going to do. And if you want me to get help until I'm better, then that's fine. You know, so from my understanding, it was, okay, he's going to move out. And then eventually we're going to get back together after we each go to therapy. And, you know, we heal through our own childhood traumas. And in the end of the card, he writes about how he feels like deep down inside, he's like his father. And the thing about his father is, so during our marriage, I found out that his father was previously arrested for child pornography. He took his computer into a computer repair shop, and that's where they found this child pornography. So he did get arrested for that. And what was so frustrating was during our relationship, you know, his family, it was just so normal for them they wanted to bring our daughter around grandpa. And in my heart, I was like, I don't even want her to be around him because I know that he's been previously arrested for child pornography. And so I didn't want that relationship to even start. And I didn't know this. You know, sometimes you don't always know what you're getting into until you're married and you're actually living in someone's family, because you are also taking on their generational trauma as well, you know? And so that was something that I learned through all this process, is how strong in the faith you have to be as a couple, not just for each other, but for your generation, you know, whatever your family's gone through in the past, you know, because all of that will attack you in your marriage. You know, it's warfare. And I think that's something that they make it sound so, you know, oh, get married and it's fun and great, but it's work and it's warfare. So,
oh yeah, definitely.
So you gotta be strong to fight these, you know. And so that was something that was always conflicting for me, because I thought, you know, it shocked me that he still just was like, okay, whatever, you know, yeah, we can bring her around him, whatever. And he did struggle with alcohol, his dad did. And that's why they would only see him in the mornings, because that was the only time he was sober, was in the morning. So that's when they always wanted to bring our daughter around, you know, to go to breakfast with him and stuff. So that really did cause like a rift, kind of like that, you know, I found that out and I was putting up a boundary about it. And that was something that I could tell his family wasn't used to. And we ended up, you know, moved out. He moved out of the apartment we were in. We went our own ways, but we were always able to co-parent well as a couple. You know, even though we both went our own ways, we both still co-parented, and our daughter, she would be half the time at his house, half the time at my house. And so, you know, over time, we just learned, I learned it's just about our daughter and whatever, you know, I just wanted to create a peaceful, even though this was not the idealistic circumstance I wanted to raise my daughter in, I never thought I would be a co-parent. I never thought I'd get a divorce, but, you know, I accepted it, and I was just trying to make my life better for all of us, you know, and he was too. I know we were
Right.
co-parenting. I think we co-parented pretty well.
Yeah.
When things took a turn for the worst, this was actually about a year ago, and around August. So my daughter, she was about 8 at the time, and soon to be 9. And I was at home one day. It was just your average morning, you know. My daughter was getting ready for school at her dad's house, and I was home. I was doing the dishes, and then I got a knock on my front door from CPS, and they told me, so I opened the door, and I had about 5 people standing out front, you know, and they told me, they said, hi, ma'am, we just want to talk to you because is your daughter, you know, they said her name, and I said yes, and I was just I didn't know what was going on. I had no clue. I was just stunned because they told me that her father was under criminal investigation for downloading and distributing lots of child pornography. And so when they told me that, at first I thought, no, him? No, it has to be his dad. His dad was the one that was previously arrested for this. And they told me no, this was his IP address. It was linked to his home address, and that's where this material is coming and going from. And I had a team. It was a child exploitation team that came down from Sacramento. They drove all the way from Sacramento down to my little town here, you know, and in Southern California. And I guess that was the trail that led them to his computer, was they're able to track all of this coming and going from his IP address. So they told me, CPS was very serious with me, and they showed, you know, sincere concern for our daughter. And they told us, you know, you really need to file an emergency ex parte because this investigation is ongoing. And they also found a camera in her bedroom, and they found multiple cameras in his home. So that scared me because I didn't know what happened to her. You know, was she being secretly recorded from her room? What was he doing? Was this material involving her? And so I went, you know, almost 2 days later, I go to court, and the judge originally granted me, you know, full temporary custody while this investigation is ongoing. And he ended up getting an attorney, though. And once he got his attorney, the attorney argued that just because he likes to watch this type of material online, that doesn't mean he would ever actually do anything to our daughter. And almost the way the attorney was talking about it, he was almost trying to make it sound like this is just what some type of people are into. This is just, you know, this is what they like to watch, and you know, just almost so casual about it, you know. And the scary thing in that is when the judge basically was sold by that, and she, you know, I guess that convinced her, and I realized, oh my goodness, I need to get my own attorney, and this is going to be a custody battle. And so shortly after that, I was looking around. I had to look everywhere for a pro bono attorney, which I found out that does not exist. There's no pro bono anymore in California. That doesn't exist. So if you're someone that's struggling financially, or, you know, you need to have at least $8,000 saved up if you're a parent, just in case something like this ever happens. So that way you can afford to actually hire someone to fight for you. Because otherwise you don't have a voice. Because I thought the truth alone would be enough for me. I thought this warrant, for them to come into his home, this was an exploitation team from Sacramento. I didn't know that this was going to be such a battle to protect her. And learning this has just shocked me. And what really stunned me was the moment that I was speaking to a few attorneys, and they all told me the same thing. And they told me that, so the investigator, I was in touch with him for a while. He told me that the reason he can't get into his computer is because he encrypted it. So even though they can see the material coming and going from his IP address, because it's password encrypted, they can't press charges, because the only way they can press charges is if they see the computer and they see the material is actually on it. So I thought, oh, well, they'll just make him put his password in. If you have nothing to hide, then you'll just put your password in. Or you're not going to have, unsupervised visitation with her. I found out that that goes against his legal right, because here in the United States, you can legally encrypt illegal material. And that showed me that, oh my goodness, there's this entire underworld where all of this illegal stuff is going on, and it's legally allowed. Wow. So that was really shocking for me to find out as a mother. And, to me, this was pretty serious. And the way that they were just rubbing this off as if, oh, well, he doesn't have to put his password in, it's his right. That made me wonder, okay, well, what are my rights as a mother who's concerned her daughter could be exploited online? If they're seeing this coming and going from his IP address, but they can't do anything to stop it because he encrypted it, where are my rights? Where are the kids' rights? Yeah. So that was shocking for me. And that's why it was so hard for me to even find an attorney. I did end up getting one. He tried to fight for me, but the way the court system was, the way the judge treated me, it was almost like I feel like I was just set up by everybody around me, because at first they addressed so much concern to me. You need to go get this ex parte, you need to protect your daughter. And then here I am, I go and I try to do that. And now the judge is treating me like I'm the problem. And, I'm making it difficult for everyone, all because I'm trying to advocate for supervised visitation. And the weird part was I was sent to mediation by the judge, but every time that I would go to mediation, the mediator would turn me away. And that was because I was trying to show them the evidence that it was the card he wrote me where he talks about the darkness inside of him and how he's a lot like his father. And his father was previously arrested for child pornography. And it was such a battle for them to even take me into mediation with evidence, because the first time I had it, they told me, sorry, we can't see you because you want to show us evidence. You need to go downstairs and file it. So I went downstairs from the courthouse, and I went to go file it. And then they told me, of course, waiting there, in the courthouse, it takes about 45 minutes just to go up to speak to someone. You got to pull a ticket, and then you wait 45 minutes, and then you go talk to someone. Like, the whole system is just designed for failure to begin with, because you got to know all the legal loopholes, or else they won't help you, So for the average person going through this, it's like impossible to fight for yourself, without having you got to know somebody, to listen to you. And so finally they told me, well, if you file the evidence, we can't take it because you need a cover letter. And so I just looked at her and I was like, okay, well, how do I get a cover letter so I can file my evidence? And she goes, well, you need to go home and print it out. And I was like, okay, but the mediator is upstairs and she told me to come file it right now. And then that's when she gave me a look, like, why would the mediator send you down here to do that? Usually they would just take it, But then finally, so I was having so many issues. I finally filed it, went back upstairs, and then they told me, sorry, your appointment's canceled. Just go to your court date. So then I go back to my court date. Well, when I went to my court date, the judge then accused me of never going to mediation in the first place. So then she thinks that I was being difficult and I didn't show up, when the truth is I did show up. And I actually still have that intake form that I tried to submit. They stamped it because I saw the lady stamp it and she filed it in front of me, was the questionnaire. And that was my proof that I went to mediation in the first place. So she sends me back to mediation to try again. I go back, a week later, and then they once again tried to turn me away from speaking to the mediator, even though the judge is asking me to go to mediation. So then I got caught in this, it was almost as if, because the thing is, on the intake form for mediation, it says if your case involves any type of suspicion of child abuse or neglect, then that is something we can't really get involved in. It says that at the top of the paper, we are mandated reporters. So if you're reporting that to us, we have to call CPS. So my theory, and this is just my own theory, is that there was some type of internal conflict between the mediator and the judge, because the judge is trying to, just send me to mediation when really this case does involve, suspicion of child abuse and neglect. So, and then the mediator is a mandated reporter. So I don't know, there was something weird going on there. And they tried to make me refill out that form again and change the date on it. They told me they wanted me to change the date to go back to so that way it showed that I never tried to go to mediation in the first place. And so that's when I was just frustrated, because I knew what they were doing. And the way that they kept trying to get me to change what I was writing on the intake form, because it asks, how would you like your custody to go? But I was fighting for supervised visitation, and they kept trying to get me to just agree with what he wanted. And that's my theory, because they kept turning me away, and I would give them the paper and they would look at it and then they would turn me away. It was almost like if you're a kid and you're in school and you go up to your teacher and you're not writing the answer the teacher wants you to write, and so they're like, okay, go back to your desk and rewrite it. So I feel like there was something more going on there. And then we finally get into the room with the mediator. When I go into the mediation room, it's decorated as if it's a therapist's office, because we all have this idea that mediation is the place where we should be. It's like calm, you can just, there's no judge involved, so that way you feel like it's just a nice, calm experience. When really, what actually happened was she finally confronted him about the card he wrote. He admitted he wrote it when he was drunk, which gave me chills, because he got assaulted by his dad when his dad was drunk. So to me, that was a red flag that, okay, if something is going to happen to my daughter, it's going to be when he's drunk,
It's the generational thing.
Yes, it just gave me that discernment. And then what the mediator did next really shocked me, because she asked me, how would you like your custody schedule to go? And what I told her, I'll let you know exactly what I told her. She said, how would you like your custody schedule to go? So I said, given that the other parent is currently under criminal investigation for downloading and distributing child pornography, I am requesting full legal custody. I'm also asking that if any visitation is allowed, it be supervised at all times, and that our child be provided with therapy to process this safely. My goal is to protect my child's physical, emotional, and psychological well-being while leaving space for safe contact, if only it's deemed appropriate by professionals. So, I thought that was very polite. I wasn't yelling. I just read it exactly like that to her. And then I let her know, the fact that he encrypted the material doesn't make him innocent. It makes him strategic and dangerous. That level of tech savvy shows intent, not innocence. It's terrifying that the system moves slow or stalls when there's encryption involved, but it doesn't change what he could be doing. And so I read her that as well. Now, after I read her that, she looked at me, and the crazy thing about this is I actually had a former CPS worker tell me that I could be charged with failure to protect if I don't try to get full temporary custody. Like, so I was being threatened by both sides now. So I had CPS telling me, you could be getting failure to protect, but then the judge is not willing to protect her. So now I'm being strung along, like a puppet. And really, these systems are fighting within themselves, but I'm the one being strung along with it. So that was the frustrating part. And it was almost like some form of triangulation, and I just felt like I can't win. It's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So here I am trying to, I don't want to get failure to protect, so I'm trying to protect her, and that's not working. And she looked at me, and after I read that to her, she goes, she just stared at me, and then she goes, "Don't raise your voice at me." And that's when it was almost like I felt like I was being set up for something because I never raised my voice at her. And so seeing someone try to do that in front of you, it's like, it just shocked me because it was like she was being the confrontational one in a passive aggressive way. And then
she's trying to provoke you.
That's exactly what it was. And then she looked at me and she said, "Don't play games with me." And that came out of nowhere. And in my head, I'm like, this is not a game. This is real. And you're, what? And so I just looked at her dumbfounded. And then she told me, "You can leave." And so
sounds like a demon.
I left there so confused. I read that to her so calmly, so rationally, and for her to just suddenly snap at me because I was creating some type of boundary, wanting to protect our daughter, that's, she also told me, she goes, "Well, this is the court's choice. This is the court's decision. If the court chooses different, how would you, different as in other than what I'm asking for, what would you like it to look like?" The whole time she was fishing for me to come into agreement with her. And I was aware of that. And honestly, my spirit and discernment told me not to verbally, don't come into agreement with her. Stand strong in what you believe is best for your child. And that's what I listened to. But so it showed me that even the devil he almost has like you have to come into agreement with him, And it's so easy to fall into that because you think you don't have the control or you don't have the power to stand up, or, you're being like coerced into that. But really there is this other, I knew it. I was like, I'm not going to go that direction. I know what I feel is right, and I'm trying to speak up, for my daughter. And after I left that room, what was so crazy is I got the report, which was her recommendation, that goes to the judge. And in that report, she actually changed her mind, and she wrote that it's very concerning what's going on, and that my daughter it needs to be supervised visitation. She recommends supervised visitation, and she recommends, once a week visits with dad until this investigation is complete. And the judge looked at that, but the way she wrote it, she never mentioned the card she saw. And then she also said that I was being very loud, and I was being aggressive, and I was being rude. And then she mentioned that I was demanding full custody. And so I think that just shows you there's a huge difference between what I was reading and then also me coming in there rudely demanding full custody, So I could tell there was an image she was painting about me. And when I went back to court, that changed the judge's mind, and the judge thought, "Oh, this is just a girl that's demanding full custody." And they never mentioned the card. I tried submitting the card to as evidence. They never wanted to look at it. Tried to let them know that, there's a history of this in his family. And look at, the only thing he learned from his father is that now he knows how to get away with this legal loophole, which is, if you encrypt child exploitation material, you can get away with it. And that's the thing. There's no accountability for these people that know this. And as a mom, I feel like I deserve to know, finding all this out, I deserve to know if something was happening with my daughter. I need to make sure she's safe. And the fact that they're trying to flip this onto me as if now I'm the problem, when, this is a very reasonable thing for me to be concerned about. And I I can honestly say, I used to be one of those people where I would think, well, if CPS is involved, it's probably because the parents did something. I used to think that. But after seeing how easily they can lie and twist words and manipulate things, I can honestly tell you that there's times where sometimes people don't do anything wrong, and for whatever reason, if they just want to take your kid, they can make up any situation and they can do it. And I don't know why I'm still being, I have to co-parent with him as if nothing has ever happened, Wow. And, but at the
You're
end
a
of the
victim.
day, it shocked me. Yeah, I believe so. I think there needs to be help for these people, because he knows deep down, he wrote in the card, there's a darkness inside of him. And I think also just seeing how this is like a generational thing, and how those can get passed along, and how hard I can imagine how hard it must be too if you come from a family with, maybe your father or your mother did something and you also are struggling with that same thing. I feel like the devil tries to tell you, look, you're just like your father, you're just like your mother, that's how you have to end up. But God really, I believe he comes in and he's the one that says, no, just because this is a generational curse, it can be broken, but I think that takes you being honest with yourself about it, and and being aware of it, you know, but that's all, it comes with accountability, like God wants us to confess our sins, and it's not to judge us. It's not to send us to hell. He actually wants to help you,
Right.
and I know that. So I really it upsets me knowing that this is a legal loophole that goes on, but I think there needs to be a law, that will, so no mom ever has to go through this. I would never wish this on any mother. Mm-mm.
Powerful.
But yeah, the investigator did tell me he was shocked that the judge didn't provide supervised visitation. He said he was shocked, and he said it's also the state we're in. It's California. So I hate to call it out, but yeah. Yep. So
So when CPS told you about the porn and the cameras, what was going through your head?
I could not believe it, because it was almost like everything, all those little micro red flags I had at the beginning, suddenly became one big one. And, at the time when he had the computer addiction, I really didn't think it was anything like that. But then finding that out, and also, I feel like God does send us signs of things, but I've had to really learn, like, how to have discernment from God, because I really didn't have it before. I would always doubt myself, or um, I don't know. Now I'm just so much more aware, and I'm learning. Like right now, I'm still learning, how to hear God's voice, and it's still something I feel like I've always kind of heard him, but now more than ever after going through this and seeing, honestly, I can honestly say I think I found God, after meeting the devil, because once I saw the evil, I was like, wow, there has to be something good, because the evil is smart and strategic. And, until you're in this type of thing, he is so sneaky. And I really think this entire thing, it's all spiritual warfare, for sure. So, yeah.
You're very smart. You gotta really, you're very smart.
Thank you.
So
I've had to learn a lot of things the hard way.
I think a lot of us have, but like you said, because I've ran into hell too, and going through hell, I knew that has to be something stronger than this, but
Yes.
the darkness, the way the darkness works, it's its own entity, right? It breathes
Yes.
on its own. It moves on its own. It has its own life force. It has its own way of grappling into people's lives, and then it grapples into families, and it destroys families and pulls families apart. And I think
Yes.
the main thing about raising awareness is raising awareness on there's a we fight not with flesh and blood, we fight with principalities and the rulers of the darkness, right? And there's dark
Right.
forces out there that are bigger than us, but Jesus resides in us, so we can overcome these things with God, but we can't
Right.
overcome sin on our own, and it
No.
sounds like your husband, um he's lost, and he can't do it on his own because he doesn't have God. He doesn't know God
Right.
in
Right.
that sense, right? And then
Yeah.
it seems like they're trying to protect him more than you.
Yes.
It seems like they're trying to put it on you and protect
Yes.
him and keep the child living in that same generational curse, that same generational sin, so that way your child will adapt to that or something, makes think that growing up thinking that that's okay, and then that
Yes.
becomes the new world order. That becomes the new
Right.
world order with what they're doing to our children, how they're trying to raise our
Right.
children. They're trying to take children from a good home, put them into a
Yes.
bad home, right? And
Yes.
and, and then they grow up and they're broken, they're lost, and then they're blaming God instead of having God. They're you
Yes.
know they're cursing God instead of loving God, and because they
Yes.
don't understand, right? And that's
Right.
exactly what this system is built and designed to do. They say, oh well, we're here to help you, we're here to help your children. No, you're not. You're here to destroy us. That's exactly why
Yeah.
you're here. And they can
Right.
hide behind the language, they can hide behind the
Right.
ideas. I'm not saying that DCS haven't had good things that they've done,
Right.
but there's a lot more bad things and a lot more people like you that
Yes.
feel like they have no voice, that feel compressed, they feel suppressed to this energy, this dark force that is covering them. You walk in the house and you can feel it, right?
Yes.
There's more of you out there than there are somebody that says, oh yeah, DCS changed my life and I got better and my kids got better. No, everybody I've talked to have had a horrible experience with these people.
Right.
So my next
Right.
question for you is, which I pretty much talked about it, but do you believe the system is protecting him more than your daughter?
Yes, I do. I do. Because I think if they're able to track this material coming and going from his IP address, um, why wouldn't they try to get him to, why can't they charge him for that? Or at least realize, maybe there's a reason he's encrypting this, maybe there's a reason he's trying to hide it all, you know? And it just shows me that you can see that this back door, I see it coming and going through the back door, but we can't get into the front door because it's your right to, have a guard there. That's what I see it
Yeah.
as. Your own guard.
Yeah.
So it's just, and then it showed me, wow, if he can encrypt this, think of all the other things people can legally get away with, by encrypting.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
there's a whole dark web out there where you can hire people to do things for you, and it's all, if you can't prove it, you know, they get away with it. So, yeah,
DCF should be ashamed of themselves. They are disgusting,
yeah,
especially in the way that they handle things.
yes, I agree. I think I
So can
actually
you
was shocked. Yes, I'm sorry.
No, no, you go ahead. It's your turn.
No, I was shocked because I had a woman, I've been sharing my story about what happened to me. And I had a woman reach out to me and she told me that she gave birth to two twin babies that were struggling to gain weight. And so she took them to the doctor. But then the doctor called CPS on her because her kids weren't gaining weight. And they ended up taking her twin babies away, as well as her older 4-year-old son, and they're trying
I think I
to
know who you're
split
talking
apart.
about.
Yes, maybe you do. But
I think I talked to her.
Yeah. And that showed me, wow, this system's so broken because they take away her twin babies, and here she is trying to get them healthy. And then over here, they leave me to co-parent with someone under criminal investigation for child pornography. Nothing is adding up.
And blame you. And then blame you for it. All right, guys. So here's the issue. It's cutting in like this because me and Ashley has had many issues during this episode trying to get this going. Just a lot of spiritual attack. I know where it's coming from. It's happening, and it's hard to get her on the thing she gets on, and then you can't hear. I mean, there's just a lot of things. So we're gonna finish.
There's a lot of technological warfare going on because I keep getting kicked out of the server on the app that we're using, and then my Wi-Fi connection shows that I'm good. There's a lot of energy, a lot of warfare going on. So,
yeah. Can you walk us through the moment when you read the card about the darkness that your husband had confessed to?
So when I first read that, I was thinking, I immediately thought of depression. And, I can relate to that. I've struggled with depression, so that when I read that, that's what I was thinking, And then I really just felt like it was a cry for help, and it was very real, But one thing that I was concerned about was how at the end he said that he feels deep down he's like his father, and knowing the history of his father previously being arrested for child pornography as well, I was concerned. And in the card, he also talks about how he admits that he knows he needs therapy, and it wouldn't be a bad idea for him to go. So I just think anyone that sees that card would have seen it as a red flag and something that should be taken seriously,
Yeah, why do you think the courts ignored this red flag?
It's a great question. I think if they were to read that card, it would really contradict what his attorney is saying. And, to me, it was very important. And I think that they're aware of what it says, but maybe they just don't want to contradict, the narrative that they're actually trying to make of me. I don't understand it. I think if you have evidence, I think it's important. It needs to be looked at, and that's why so many times, if you look at when we wonder why school shootings happen, and we wonder why all these things happen, we need to look at the journals that these people are writing. Right. Usually people cry for help.
How does it feel being forced to co-parent with someone under criminal investigation for this?
To me, this just feels very concerning because I still don't know if there's something involving my daughter in all of this. And I now, there's no accountability. And it's concerning for me because it's almost like they're telling me that I have less rights as a mother, wanting to protect my daughter than someone that, wants to watch child exploitation material online. So I don't think someone that does that, how can I trust them alone with my child, our child?
Yeah, I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. What's the hardest part of this battle for you emotionally and spiritually?
The hardest part of this battle is knowing that in my heart I feel that all of these things need to be looked at and taken into consideration. And it's actually this is something very simple, but the system is making it more complicated than it needs to be. And they are making so many challenges, and it's almost like it was all well orchestrated for it to fail, you know? And that's the most difficult part of it, is just trying to keep endurance when you're trying to advocate for yourself or for someone you love, and everyone around you is not paying attention or listening. It's very discouraging, and it's very isolating, and you just feel like, well, where is my rights as a mother to protect my daughter in all this?
Right.
It just feels unnatural.
What was the mediator's reaction really like? Did you feel targeted?
So when I first went into the mediation room, I was expecting it to just be very peaceful and to the point, both of us sharing our sides. And we were both very calm, but what shocked me was when I did not choose to come into verbal. It was almost like she was trying to create a verbal contract with me, where she kept becoming frustrated. She would ask me, well, what if the court chooses something other than what you're asking for? She was trying to get me to agree to what she and, my ex-husband were proposing, which is to just carry on as if this never happened. And then I felt strongly, that the reason, as I was told by the investigator, the reason he hasn't faced any charges is because they can't force him to put his password in his computer, even though they can see all this coming and going from his IP address. So I think that's someone that uses this level of encryption and tech savvy, and they've been caught for this, yet they're trying to still gaslight me into believing none of this is going on, is just unbelievable. And when I was strong and just telling her that I really feel that supervised visitation is best at this time while this is ongoing, that's when she snapped at me, and she pointed her finger at me, and she raised her voice and said, "Don't raise your voice at me." And that was startling, because I was speaking to her exactly how I'm speaking to you right now. So I felt like that was when something in her snapped and she wanted to escalate the situation. And after that happened, she said, "I'm not playing games with you." And then I looked at her and I was so confused, because to me, this isn't a game. This is my real life. I'm not here to play games either. And then she said, "You can leave. If you're not going to cooperate, you can leave." And I felt like that was I was going to be set up for something else if I didn't leave. So I did. I walked out. And then I just left there feeling completely shocked and dumbfounded. Then when I read the mediation, the recommendation from her, the fascinating thing is she did open up about how she felt it would be best for my daughter to have supervised visitation, because that card was very concerning. But she never actually wrote about the card, so the judge doesn't know that that card is a very key role in all this and in her decision making. So that's why people need to look at the whole picture. And if you want to know the truth, you have to look at the whole picture of it.
Have you been threatened, silenced, or gaslit through this process?
So far, I would say yes, because the judge, I was actually mentioning this, online on a local group. And what blew my mind was the judge, when I went to court, she mentioned to everyone that I was talking about this on that app, which showed me that why is it I get better communication from a judge outside of the courtroom than I do when I'm inside of the courtroom? And it showed me that she is able to see what I'm talking about and she understands. But there's something deeper to all this. And I think it's just knowing that people are choosing to look away from something that we should really be more concerned about.
How do you explain this to your daughter, or do you?
That's a great question. So my daughter has been in therapy for almost a year now, which has been extremely helpful. And as far as she knows, it's one of those things where with time, that might be something in the future she's going to have to learn. But as of right now, she understands that she was there actually when she saw that her dad's house got raided. And I had to explain to her, because she saw her dad in handcuffs, and then she saw them taking his computers out of his house. And I had to tell her, kids aren't stupid. And I had to tell her that adults understand, consequences. If you do something wrong, if you're stealing online, if you're doing things that, aren't right, then adults know that they face consequences for it. And I really want her to just, it concerns me because when kids see this, it's putting it in their head that this is normal. When they're at home and all of a sudden the FBI is coming over and raiding your home. I mean, to me, we have to realize, like, when she grows up, I don't want her to be with a boyfriend who's constantly getting arrested, or she has to see this and then all of a sudden it's like nothing ever happened and just pretend that you didn't see anything. I think for them to even go in there and have the warrant to arrest him in the first place in front of her, I mean, I don't understand why they would go to that lengths, and traumatize her in that way, because that's a trauma for her to see. And I don't know why they would go to that length to do that just for nothing.
What would you say to other mothers who suspect abuse but don't have proof?
That's a very, very good question. And I believe that, as most mothers, mothers that love their children and they pay attention to signs with their children, I think we need to be very in tune with that. We need to recognize different types of behaviors and signs with our kids and really look for those things, but also make sure that you know that there's a reason you're in your child's life, and it is to protect your kids. It is to be there for them. It is to advocate for them. So if you believe that that's going on, I think it should, I highly recommend, honestly, going to a really good child therapist. If you go to a good one, I know that my daughter, she's been seeing one who really has her best interests at heart. And just knowing that there are people out there that will listen and that do care. And, I had to tell myself, if in the future, if I didn't fight for this right now, what if in the future something happens and I have to live with that consequence, knowing that I didn't stand up for her? I didn't do everything I could to get answers. I'm going to have to live with that consequence. So in that sense, I believe I'm doing my job as a parent by standing up for her and bringing this to attention,
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be one of those people that looks away, and closes my eyes to something that I can truly see is so wrong and evil.
Do you believe there's a larger system of corruption involved?
I do, and it's really showed me that the way that this system can be designed when it's made for failure, it can just string you along, and there's so much more at play. It's not just about filing the great papers or doing the right thing. I've been following everything I'm supposed to do. I'm following all these steps, but ultimately there's energy involved in this, and it's the energy of these people that don't have that awareness of what they might. It's almost as if people don't realize until it happens to you, and this is happening to yourself, and someone's doing this to you and screwing you over like this and not caring about you. We need to start seeing people as people and realizing that the corruption is real. And until it happens to you, you're not going to even know about it. If it doesn't affect you, then you just think, oh, that can never happen to me. But I worry that there's going to be other moms out there that are going to have to go through this until some type of law is passed to protect kids in this situation. This can happen to anyone.
What role has your faith played in this? How do you keep going?
This has given me more faith than I've ever had, because deep down inside, I know what it's like, to, even as a child, just to be ignored, to not be seen, and to go through something where you were assaulted in some way and no one cares, no one sees, you feel like no one believes you. I know what that feels like, and the important thing for those of us that have gone through this is to know that God sees. When no one else sees, God sees. And at the end of the day, you can be in a situation where everything around you is not giving you any hope, but as long as you have God, you do have hope. Just like, the Bible says, faith of a mustard seed, that's really all that I'm going off of, is that faith, that tiny faith of a mustard seed that someone will see. Someone will listen, someone will hear.
Yeah, and if nobody does, I see you.
Thank you. I know. And that's what led me to learning about these CPS cases where people have had their children taken for the wrong reasons. And that's when I discovered, I felt that pain as if that happened to me. And I said, someone needs to make a podcast interviewing these people, because the stories I was reading, I had the same, even though we're both on different sides of the street in this, I feel like we're all actually dealing with the same corruption.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, we're all being overlooked. Or just targeted and manipulated. And again, like I used to be one of those people that judged someone. If they had CPS called on them, I thought, oh, there's something wrong. They did something bad. But now I learned that's not truly the case. And there's so much corruption that can be involved. And also, it's almost like it's like an organized crime.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
If people could do one thing after hearing this episode, what should it be?
If people could do one thing, I am really asking for people to reach out to Ann Wagner. She's trying to actually get a bill passed that would help prevent situations like mine. And if you want to look into that, just search Ann Wagner. And then I believe it's like the legal right for law enforcement to intervene when there is stuff like this with illegal material coming and going through encryption. They're able to seek further and investigate further, and yeah, because it's happening whether we like it or not. Whether we want to have our eyes opened or closed, it's still going on. So we all need to open our eyes.
Yeah.
Well,
Ashley, that's all the questions that I have, and even despite all the spiritual attack we've dealt with since we started this, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you have a great episode, and I'm going to put it out there, and I'm so grateful that you decided to do this. I commend you. I love you.
Thank
I
you.
I love your daughter, and I care about you, and I'll continue to pray for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my goodness. And it wasn't obviously, I know I wasn't perfect with it, expressing everything. I wish I did it better, but
Well, you did
I
great.
mean, thank you.
You did
Thank you for
great.
listening.
Yeah, you did great. And I'm gonna put this out there, and I should drop it tomorrow, so you'll be able to
Okay.
share it. And
Okay.
if you have any
Awesome.
links that you want me to add to it, you could just send to me. But
Okay. I'll probably send that bill that she has on her page so that way
okay,
people are aware, you know, that this is something that people are, you know, trying to vote for. Like
yeah,
it's a rare situation to happen to someone, but when it does, trust me, you want this bill passed, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you
So,
could send all that to me, and
okay.
maybe in future too, when you could get an update, you can come back on. And
Sure.
but God bless you, and I really appreciate you. Like I said, I really
You
respect you for
too.
this, and I hope that
Thank
I
you.
hope you had a good experience on this podcast.
Absolutely. No, this is all happening for an amazing reason. Even though it's a bad circumstance, I'm really thankful that you're able to do this. So thank you.
No, you're
I can't
definitely
wait.
welcome.
Thank you. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm ready for anything. You know what? I'm not afraid. You know, no. This is
Me either.
already as worse as it gets. Like, this cannot be happening in my lifetime. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
deep down, I am angry. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
So,
No, I definitely understand. Yeah, but like you said, we can't live in fear. We gotta rise up against it.
right, right. You're
But
so right.
God's wrath will come upon these people.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
No,
Okay, we'll
definitely.
keep in touch.
All right, Ashley.
Thank you. Okay. All right, take care.
All right, you too. God bless. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. I'm sorry for the issue. Listen, Ashley's a great person. She's a great woman, has a powerful testimony. Demons cannot stop this. There's no force out there that can come against me. No weapon formed against me or her or anybody in this situation will prosper, man. This is real right here. This is real. This is as real as it gets. And I'm telling you right now, Satan, you have to flee from me. I have authority over you. I have power over you. And for DCS, DFCS, whatever you call it in your state, they should be disgusted. And I tell you now, they don't have jurisdiction over you. Don't give them consent. You can tell those people to hit the road. That's all you got to do. You don't have to open that door. You don't have to talk to these people. These people are horrible people. There's more people out there that are dealing with negative, dark things, dark forces from this organization than there is people dealing with good. And I promise you that. And I'm going to bring that to light, and I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to show all of you just what it is, just what we're dealing with out here. This is to bring awareness, to bring light to this situation. Satan, you have no power here. So it doesn't matter if you want to mess with the audio. It doesn't matter what you think you're doing, brother. This is coming out regardless. God bless y'all. Stay safe out there.